Hello, brilliant Derby community. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you again on this Magic Monday. I'm Sanj and I'm your host and your proud host for today's session. First up, welcome to March. It's going to be our first session in March. We started it in Jan with Andy Cope. A few weeks ago, you met Susie, lovely Susie Lavington, who talked about how to find your brave. And today, we've got a very special guest who I'm going to introduce in a minute or two. Before I get to today's session, I just want to remind you that if you do want to get involved in Brilliant Derby, we are recruiting, we are looking for volunteers. And right above the screen right now, you're going to see an email address to get involved. So that is yes@brilliantderby.org. So yes@brilliantderby.org. There have been a lot of emails so far, which is fantastic. And we've got the next few sessions lined up. We've got a lot of internal meetings going on. So things are looking very, very, very exciting in Derby for the next few weeks. So thank you so much for everybody who's got involved. We will be getting back to you very, very soon. And for those of you watching this right now and would love to get involved, you'd love to contribute more well-being, more positivity, and more smiles to your community, please feel welcome to message us, and we'll look to get you involved in any and every way possible. And that includes in front of the camera, but that also includes behind the camera. Right. Off we go, Brilliant Derby. Are you ready? Because today we've got an absolute treat for you. We've got an absolute treat. And a man who I believe is wearing a matching t-shirt to me, my friend Martin Bird. Martin, are you there, my friend?
I am, Sanj. So good to speak to you as always.
Martin, how are you? How are you today?
I'm great. I've had a lovely run this morning. It's a beautiful sunny day in Leicester. So yeah.
Don't say that.
Sorry.
Ooh, we don't like Leicester people.
Oh, we love everyone, Sanj. You know that.
Yeah, true. Right, Martin, before I let you loose on the session today, which is how to be awesome, which is, again, it's an absolute treat. I've had the pleasure of seeing this a couple of times before, and today I know you've tweaked it, I know you've tailored it, I know you're going to give the people of Derby what they need. But before we get there, Martin, quick introduction to who is Martin Bird, because you have a very, very interesting job.
Yeah, I have two jobs. I work part-time for the Art of Brill. I'm one of the trainers here. And I've got this second part-time job, which is I'm head of wellbeing at Uppingham School. And head of wellbeing actually exists. It must be the best job title ever. But my purpose and the reason why I do it is to allow young people to learn how to look inwards, because we know that happy students create happy schools. Happy schools get better results. So if we're results orientated, then that's great. But the things that we teach our students is about their strengths and about their values and about their physical part, their eating habits, their sleeping habits too. So it's not just their psychology, but it's also their physiology. So that when they reach 16, A, they know how to love themselves, B, they feel respected and they've got a way that they can be resilient. They understand that, I'm not just judging myself on today, I'm judging myself maybe in 3 years down the line. So if I make a mistake now, what does that mean about whether I'm pushing the boundaries of what I think is capable? But it's not just about the next 3 years, it's about the next 10 years and the next 20 years and the next 50 years. So if we can create the habitual loops that they have by the time they're 16, we know that most of our habits are created by the time we're 16 years old. If we can create that and we push them to go, this is going to be difficult, but you learn strategies, then what's the next 10 years, 20 years, 50 years like down the line? And that for me is now trying to spread that around the country just gives me the chills.
It's so exciting, man. I think what you're doing is so inspiring. And, I feel personally so excited to hear stories from you over the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 healthy years that we've got together, where you're going to be sharing stories about your students and what they've achieved and what they've contributed to society. I think that's going to be absolutely fantastic. And just bringing this one step closer to what we're going to do today. Your journey, of course, is unique, and everybody who's watching this story has their own. Everybody's watching the session right now has their own story about how they've come here today to watch this video and how they've decided to focus on well-being. But what's your reason for focusing and decided to contribute to well-being? What is the main drive for that in terms of the Martin Bird story?
Such a deep question, which I'll try and give you the short version. I think that so many people don't realize how amazing they are. I think that we're all born amazingly and we believe that we're amazing. I've got 2 young kids and I look at them running around with vibrancy. They skip to school, for instance. You know, my old daughter was 5 the other day and she just skips. And I see that nothing can faze her really. But then I see some of my 15-year-old students who get bogged down with the pressures of school and other parts of life. And we just forget that amazing part of us is within each of us. And part of what we're doing in the Art of Brill, and certainly with Brilliant Derby, is saying, let's just let it out. Let's just let it out. And what are the things that we can do? What are the conscious habits? The things that, you know what, I really understand how to be my best self in the morning. I know how to overcome some of these challenges. And I see that challenge as a stepping stone to becoming a better version of me. And that's what we're all about.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Martin. And I'm gonna let you do what Martin does best very soon. So if you're watching this right now, get your notepad, get yourself a cup of tea, enjoy yourself, and keep an ear out for the cheeky activity at the end. Martin Burda, over to you, my friend. I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you so much. So this session is called How to Be Awesome. And it's about your physical self, which is fantastic because we're not just interested in this Brilliant Derby about what our psychological part of us is. So it starts for me with this cycle ride I did, and it ended virtually on the beach. And I'll come back to that in a second. So I want you to think about a beach that you would like to be in. It's COVID time, I know, so it's slightly different, and you're a long way from the beach in Derby. So what's the name of the beach? Where is it? What time of the year is it? Is it warm? Is it cold? So for me, I wanted to get to this beach. It was Bondi Beach in Australia. And I wanted to get there for years because I'd heard about it through, I think it was Home and Away and a variety of other Australian different productions. And for me, it was fascinating because as I got to Bondi Beach in Australia, and I saw everybody there who was bronzed and beautiful, I thought, what does it mean if I take my shirt off? How do I feel about my body? And I was a bit embarrassed. And I could not understand why. The reason I couldn't understand why is because I'd cycled there from the UK as part of my round the world trip. And I imagined that when I got to Australia, you know, it's tens of thousands of miles away, I'd imagine that if I take my shirt off, I'd have a six-pack and I'd just look gorgeous. So I was cycling 300 to 400 miles a week. And in Australia, I had to cycle at night because it was so windy during the day that it seemed to get cooler at 4 o'clock in terms of the weather and the wind. So then I could cycle at night for the same intensity, but go 3 or 4 miles an hour faster. And that left me with this idea, wow, how can I be cycling 300 to 400 miles a week, but be putting on weight? And I didn't understand. So when I came back at the end of this journey, what does it mean? I was 28 years old and I was at the prime of my kind of what I should have been physical health. But I was 1.5 stone heavier than I am now. So what I've got over the next 5 to 10 minutes or so is to give you as much as I can that you can use straight today. So I get asked all the time, Martin, sleep, eat or move, which is the most important? Well, I know that some people never need to exercise. And I know that I can go probably 28, 30 days without eating anything. But I go for a night, 2 nights at most without sleep, and my body goes into shutdown. So the most important out of all of those, I think, is sleep. So I'm going to give you a couple of top tips. And one of the acronyms we use in terms of sleep is I want you to be clear, C-L-E-A-R. Okay, so what does C mean? Okay, so C is caffeine. Caffeine is one of the most prominent drugs that we have in our society currently, and people take it to wake up in the morning. And I was doing this session with a group of students, and I walked up to the student. I said to him, "Oh, how are you doing? Nice to see you." And he just went, and he sat down, and for about 20 minutes, he said, look, I'm really sorry, I hadn't had my coffee, I wasn't alive yet. So caffeine has a really interesting performance enhancer. But what people don't know is that is a half-life of about 6 to 8 hours. So what that means is, if I have a coffee now, in 8 hours, half of the caffeine is still in my system, which makes it really difficult to get into really deep sleep. So one of the recommendations that we have as part of sleep is, drop your caffeine by about 2 o'clock if you have a normal, whatever that is, sleep pattern. So if you work in nights, then that's slightly different. Okay, so by about 2 o'clock, and bear in mind that. And I was explaining this to my mother-in-law, and she said, look, Martin, I can have a coffee and then fall straight to sleep. I said, yeah, you can. However, if I put electrodes on you and I did a little EEG and I could see which part of sleep you're in, you don't get to deep sleep. And deep sleep is when all the restoration, deep sleep is when all the repairing of the brain, deep sleep is when we take away, kind of detoxifying the brain. And if you don't detoxify the brain, what does it do? It struggles the day after and day after and day after and day after. So C, caffeine. What does L stand for? L is light. And I don't know if you're like me sometimes. I'm asleep, I'm tired, and I'm sitting watching something on the TV maybe, and I just doze a little bit. And I'm so tired, but I have to brush my teeth before I go to bed or go for a pee. And what happens is, I don't know if you're like me, but our bathroom light used to be super bright. So by the time I'm going to sleep, I'm so tired, but then I've brushed my teeth. And by the time I'm sleeping, trying to get to sleep, I'm wide awake. Have you ever had that, where you feel like 10 minutes ago, I could hardly keep my eyes open and now I can't keep them closed? Well, light has a really interesting system. Light tells us, it's morning time. So what does that mean? It means, okay, I've got this sleepy time, but light is a signaler, and it's saying the next day is about to start. So what does that do for our nutrition? Well, light means morning time, I need more food. So have you ever noticed that sometimes you get a little craving at night? You go, it's 11 o'clock at night. Should we just have a little snack? And what are those snacks like? Are they the healthy carrots or apples or fruits? No. When we're tired, we make bad choices because this hunger hormone, ghrelin, kicks in. And it's telling us, I'm actually tired. So one of the reasons why people eat is because of fatigue, because of tiredness. So that comes through from light. Okay, so how can we use that? Well, if I know that light wakes me up, one of the really key things that we need is to make our room as dark as possible, because of these triggers all around our body, light sensors. So how can we use that to good effect? Well, in the morning, get up and tell your body that the day has started. So get out if you can and just go and high five the sun as early as you can. That would be amazing. And then what happens is you've gone, I've sorted my caffeine out. I'm telling my body when it's time to sleep and when it's time to wake up. So using the C and L. I can't go too much further without mentioning this, though. One of the sleep hormones is called melatonin. And if, like most people, about 50% of the people use their mobile phones as a check. Just the last 5 minutes of the day, just going to check. What does that mean? What happens is the blue light from the phone is telling us it's morning time again. And it's also starting our brain. It's exciting us because if I do get a message, what does that mean? If I don't get a message, what does that mean also? So top tip number 2 would be keep your phone out of the bedroom. Okay, and try and avoid tech within the last hour, but also the first hour, because what's it doing? We see again 50 to 60% of people checking their phones within the first hour. When I say first hour, Mostly it's within the first 15 minutes. And that sends, again, this wave of excitation, especially if you're checking social media and your work email. Because whose work email doesn't make them stressed? So you're starting the day, cortisol, adrenaline, going through the roof. So what's that do in the morning? Get up, high five the sun, and that's telling your brain the new day has begun. And if you do that consistently, just those two little things, then your sleep will improve. You'll have more energy because you'll know exactly when morning is. You'll start to sleep better because you haven't had that disruption to melatonin. And then I get this. Martin, you've coached a few people. Which is better, eating or movement? Here's the science. The science is this. 80% of what shape we are in is what we ingest. So what does that mean? Does that mean we shouldn't do exercise? I'm saying if you want to be in the shape of your life, then a lot of it is coming in from what we're ingesting. And the big thing that's in our system currently and our society is this thing called sugar. And you know this kind of. But historically, we're only used to having about 22 teaspoons of sugar a year. And now we're having sometimes that a day. No, in our bodies at any time, just after we wake up, we've only about 1 teaspoon of sugar in our system. I have a glass of orange juice, that's about 6 teaspoons. Have some cereal, some Cocoa Pops or Frosties. And I'm ramping it up there to 20 teaspoons of sugar for breakfast. And then our body cannot cope with it. So what does it do? It signals, oh, I need to hold on to this. There's going to be an absence of food soon. So what happens? Lots of sugar means I now need to put it on. I need to stay. I need to hold on to it, and it often presents with abdominal excess fat, etc., etc., etc. So what I want you to think about is how can you sleep better? If you get that bit right, we make really good choices. If we can there's so many things about the eating aspect, but if we can just know what sugar is in, it starts off with fructose and maltose and typically anything ending in OSE in a packet, or anything called honey or syrup. And then you start to see, when am I eating that? And once I prime my body, so how can you prime your body? I know I'm about to have a treat, whatever that treat is. So do about 30 seconds of exercise. Just standing still, squats, or whatever it is will offset, and it will start to prime your body to say, I'm going to use this sugar rather than let it store on my body. What I noticed on my bike journey was I thought I could eat anything because I was cycling 300 to 400 miles a week. And I noticed I can't offset a bad diet, even doing that amount of exercise. And now as I turn in 50, I'm starting to think, okay, well, maybe I can control what I do. I can control the way I look based on sleeping and eating, and then a little tiny bit of exercise. And then we can have the health and the vitality that we want. Brilliant, Darby. I can't wait to meet you soon and be part of this well-being journey.
Yes, Martin, love it. As you saying that, as you're talking about healthy snacks, I went and got myself a quick apple because just wanted to do it just for my for my own sanity about being putting my health first. So thank you for the inspiration, Martin. What about a little activity? What can I do? What can anybody who's watching this in Derby right now? What can we do at home? Give us something to think about over the next few weeks.
Well, a couple of things. What is the routine that you have for sleep? That's really important to go. Mostly it's the morning routine is more important than the evening. If you get up at the same time, your body then all of a sudden goes, I'm used to getting up at that point, and therefore it signals what time I'm in going to bed. But also, therefore, that phone use before and after. 1 hour before you go to sleep, 1 hour as you wake up, and then your body's going, I don't need to have this excess stress and cortisol response. I can sleep better. And if I sleep better, what's my productivity? And there's a really interesting quote, which is, fatigue makes cowards of us all. And what that means is when you've got to work really hard at a task in the morning, or on a work task or a health task, or I've got to have the right foods. What happens if I'm tired? I just ignore a lot of that. I just go, you know what, I'm just too tired now. But we don't have the vitality. That's why sleep is so important. Our immunity drops by 500% if we skip 90 minutes. Okay, so what does that mean? Our performance is 30% lower if we skip sleep. That's like having a couple of beers before work. You wouldn't do that. Okay, maybe. So that's one thing, but also just to start to know what we're consuming. Start to just be aware. And I think, so for me, it's looking at, well, where do I see, there's so many different things with this health idea. You know, do we eat meat? Do we not eat meat? But I think the simple things that people can do is just go, what is the impact that sugar is having? You know, I was working with a church group before, and someone came up to me and they said, oh yeah, if Jesus is within us all, then what would I feed Jesus if he came for dinner? And I thought, that's an interesting concept. You know, and if I wouldn't and they were going, right, it's within us. So what does that mean? Well, I want to feed me the way that I would feed somebody else. And I think that's really just set me thinking, like, okay, well, if I want to be the best version of me, do I know what I'm putting into my body? So be aware of where the sugars are. You know, and these little added sugars just mean, you know, you'll get to the end of a meal and you'll go, oh, I'm so full, I'm so full. What about an ice cream or a little bit of chocolate? And sugar just means that the hunger hormone ghrelin just stops. So you're like, I could probably eat another bit of chocolate. And once you start down that road, you're like, I don't know where to stop.
So let me interrupt you a little bit there, man. So I understand the activity in terms of gaining awareness of our current habits. I think that's fantastic activity and definitely something that every single person watching this video can do. But a little insight on the dessert thing, because I'm somebody who likes a dessert after dinner. What I've started doing recently, and please let me know if this is all right or not. Again, traditional, old sounds would, enjoy a few biscuits or cookie or, ice cream or all of them at the same time. But recently what I've been doing is breaking up some fruit. So a couple of bananas or a banana, some apple and some frozen berries and putting them in some yogurt. And if I'm feeling really, really cheeky, I might drizzle them with a tiny bit of honey. Is that, what does that say?
I think it depends on when also you're eating it. If that's your late night meal, we know often that sugar is in fruit, and depending on the fruit that you're eating, then it has a similar protocol that normal sugar would have.
Wow.
And I think the interesting part for some people is we have this emotional response, don't we? We sometimes tell our kids, you can't leave the dinner table. You can't have any dessert until you've eaten this stuff. So this is the stuff, the food is the important bit. And I think the simple thing, I would say, if that was the dessert of choice for you, then that's great. It's far better to have that you know what it is, than if you're eating a Mars bar or you don't know what's in it, you don't know what other chemicals are in there. So therefore, what I would suggest is, going back to the church group, if God made it, then eat it. If man made it, then be wary. If that makes sense. So,
yeah, I like
what,
it.
As if it's the simplest way I can make nutrition is, if it looks like food, eat it. If it doesn't look like food, then like a pork pie, well, what is in that, for instance? Yeah, and the same thing with if I look at some of the breakfast cereals, Kellogg Crunchy Nut cornflakes, I don't know what that is. So therefore, I would argue that's a processed part, and that's where a lot of the damage is coming from in our physiology and certainly our gut microbiome.
Yeah, fascinating. Fascinating. Well, I know I'm going to be doing for the next couple of weeks, Martin. I'm going to be walking around the house with a pen and paper, seeing what I'm up to. Phone
Cool.
habits, sleep habits, food habits, exercise habits, you name it, I'll be writing it down. So, Martin, I want to say thank you so much for your session today. If you do have any questions about the session, please feel welcome to get in touch with Martin or myself, or even at that Brilliant Derby. We will be actively checking that. And we've got a session with Dr. Andy Cade makes a return very, very soon to wrap things up before we go to the next stage of Brilliant Derby. And it's a very optimistic time of the year. Children are back in school, which is huge for all of us. So everybody keep their fingers crossed. This is a very exciting time in the world. And yeah, just keep our fingers crossed. Take it day by day. Do what Martin said, and let's be the healthiest and best version of ourselves. Martin, I want to say thank you so much. And we look forward to meeting you in person one day soon, hopefully. Right. Take care, Derby. Fantastic to see you. Fantastic to be with you. And we will see you soon. Ciao, ciao.